man gives a ride to a woman caught in the rain. The next day, a helicopter flies over his house, leading to a revelation that changes his life forever. The rain fell steadily in Beacon Grove, draping the town in a gray blanket. Nathaniel, a solitary literature professor, stared out of his office window, watching the raindrops race down the glass. It was just another dreary autumn day, and he felt the familiar weight of loneliness pressing on his chest. As he turned back to his desk, he noticed a splash of color through the downpour, a vibrant umbrella bobbing along the sidewalk. Elawan was there, a free-spirited artist, seeking refuge from the relentless rain under a small awning. Nathaniel's heart skipped a beat. He had seen her before at the local cafe, her laughter brightening the air around her like sunlight breaking through clouds. But today, she looked different. Her hair clung to her cheeks, and her eyes held a hint of uncertainty. He hesitated, gripped by the fear of stepping out of his comfort zone. What would he say? What if she brushed him off? Yet, as he watched her shiver, a sudden warmth of empathy surged within him. Could he really just let her stand there, soaked and alone? With a deep breath, he grabbed his jacket and stepped outside. "Hey!" he called, his voice barely rising above the sound of the rain. Elawan looked up, startled. "Hi," she replied, her smile breaking through the gloom. "I'm just waiting for the rain to let up. How about you?" "I was just heading home. Would you like a ride?" Nathaniel offered, surprising himself with his boldness. Her eyes lit up, and she nodded. "I'd love that. Thank you." As they climbed into his car, Nathaniel felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. They pulled away from the curb, the rain drumming softly on the roof. The streets were slick, reflecting the pale glow of streetlights. "So what do you do?" Elawan asked, her voice warm and inviting. "I teach literature at the college," Nathaniel replied, glancing at her. "And you? I've seen you at the cafe painting." "I'm an artist," she said, her enthusiasm bubbling over. "I love capturing emotions on canvas. It's my escape." "Escape from what?" Nathaniel asked, his curiosity piqued. Elawan hesitated, her gaze drifting to the rain-soaked streets. "Life can be complicated sometimes," she admitted. "Art helps me make sense of it all." Their conversation flowed easily, moving from small talk to deeper discussions about their dreams and fears. Nathaniel found himself sharing more than he usually did. "I often feel trapped in my own world," he confessed. "Teaching is rewarding, but sometimes it feels lonely." Elawan nodded, her expression understanding. "I get that. I've had my share of loneliness too, even in a crowd." A silence settled between them, filled only by the sound of the rain. Nathaniel felt a stirring sense of hope and possibility. Here, in this moment, with Elawan, he felt less alone. "What about you?" he asked, eager to know more. "Do you have any big dreams?" "I want to have my own exhibition someday," she said, her eyes sparkling with passion. "But I struggle sometimes. My art feels like a reflection of my own chaos." "Chaos can lead to beauty," Nathaniel said softly, his heart aching for her. "You just have to find the right way to express it." The car rolled to a stop at a red light, and Nathaniel glanced at her, taking in the way the rain framed her face. "What if you embraced the chaos? What if you let it guide you?" Elawan smiled, a hint of hope flickering in her eyes. "Maybe you're right. Maybe I need to take that leap." As they continued their drive, the rain fell like a curtain, blurring the world outside. Nathaniel felt the connection between them deepening, like roots intertwining beneath the surface. What would happen next? Would this encounter change the course of their lives? The questions lingered as they navigated the rain-soaked streets, each turn leading them closer to an unexpected bond that neither of them anticipated. The morning after their chance meeting, Nathaniel sat in his small kitchen, sipping a cup of strong coffee. The aroma filled the air, but his mind was far from the comforting warmth of the drink. Instead, he was jolted from his reverie by the loud thrum of a helicopter hovering outside. The noise cut through his thoughts, dragging him back to the memory of Elowen, her laughter ringing in his ears like a melody. She had spoken about her art project, her eyes sparkling with excitement and a hint of vulnerability. Nathaniel glanced out the window, watching the helicopter circle above. What are they looking for? He muttered to himself, a slight frown creasing his brow. The sound filled him with unease, and he couldn't shake off the feeling that something was wrong. Could Elowen be in trouble? The notion sent a shiver down his spine. He set down his coffee, pacing the floor. He thought about reaching out to her, but doubt crept in. What if I overstep? What if she wants to be left alone? Nathaniel hesitated, his heart wrestling with his mind. He wanted to respect her privacy, but the concern clawed at him. Finally, he decided to follow the sound of the helicopter. I need to know, he told himself. He grabbed his jacket and left his apartment, the rain from the night before still glistening on the pavement. As he walked, the cool air filled his lungs, and he felt a strange mix of determination and anxiety. After a short walk, he arrived at a local art gallery. The sounds of laughter and chatter greeted him as he stepped inside. The walls were adorned with vibrant paintings and sculptures, each piece telling a different story. Nathaniel felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps Elowen was here. He moved deeper into the gallery, his heart racing as he scanned the crowd. Then he spotted her. Elowen stood by her artwork, a bright canvas filled with wild colors and swirling forms. She looked radiant, her face lit up with joy as people admired her work. Nathaniel's heart swelled with pride. Elowen, he called out, weaving through the crowd. She turned and smiled, her eyes sparkling. Nathaniel, I didn't expect to see you here. Her voice was warm and inviting, but he noticed a tension in her shoulders. I heard the helicopter outside, he said, trying to keep his tone light. I was worried. Oh, that was just for the gallery opening, she replied, brushing it off. I'm fine. Nathaniel studied her, feeling a nagging sense of unease. Are you sure? I mean, it's not just about the helicopter. Elowen paused, her smile faltering slightly. I appreciate your concern, really, but I'm okay, just a lot going on. He nodded, but something in her tone made him uneasy. As he looked around, he overheard snippets of conversation about her past. Such a brave soul, someone said. She's finally breaking free. The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Breaking free? From what? Nathaniel thought, his heart racing. Determined to learn more, he stepped closer to the artwork. Each piece seemed to tell a story of struggle and hope, but there was an underlying darkness that Nathaniel couldn't ignore. He sensed a vulnerability in Elowen, a fragility that was barely concealed beneath her confident exterior. Later, when the crowd thinned out, Nathaniel found a moment alone with her. Can we talk? He asked gently, his voice low. Elowen's expression shifted, and she nodded. Sure. They moved to a quieter corner of the gallery, the sounds of laughter fading into the background. I saw the way people reacted to your work, Nathaniel began. You have a gift, but I can't help but feel there's more beneath the surface. Her gaze dropped to the floor. You're right, she admitted quietly. There's a lot that I'm dealing with. Like what? He pressed, his concern deepening. Elowen took a deep breath, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. There's a relationship in my life that holds me back. It's toxic, Nathaniel. I want to escape, but it's so hard. Empathy washed over Nathaniel. He reached out, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. You don't have to face this alone. I care about you, Elowen. Her eyes met his, and in that moment, they both felt the weight of their vulnerabilities. Nathaniel's heart raced, not just from concern, but from a budding connection that felt both terrifying and exhilarating. "Thank you," she whispered, a flicker of hope igniting in her eyes. "I didn't expect to find someone who understands." As they stood there, surrounded by the vibrant colors of Elowen's art, Nathaniel felt the stirrings of something profound, a bond that could change everything. Nathaniel stood in the crowded art gallery, the vibrant colors of Elowen's paintings swirling around him like a storm. Each piece told a story, reflecting her spirit and pain. Yet, even amidst the celebration, he felt a weight in his chest, a growing concern for Elowen's well-being. He admired her talent, but he could not shake the feeling that something darker loomed behind her smiles. After the last guest had left and the gallery began to empty, Nathaniel saw his chance. He approached Elowen, who was packing up her things with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Elowen," he said softly, "can we talk for a minute?" She looked up, surprise flashing across her face. "Sure, Nathaniel. What's on your mind?" He hesitated, searching for the right words. "I just wanted to say, your work is amazing. It really speaks to me. But I also wanted to check in with you. You seemed a bit overwhelmed tonight." Elowen gave a small laugh, but it sounded forced. "Oh, it's just the usual. You know how it is. Art shows can be intense. But I'm fine." "Really?" Nathaniel frowned, sensing her reluctance to open up. "I don't think you are. I remember what you told me about your past. It's okay to not be fine, you know?" Her expression shifted, a flicker of vulnerability appearing in her eyes. "Nathaniel, I appreciate your concern, but I've dealt with my past. I'm just trying to move forward." "Are you?" he pressed gently. "Because it doesn't seem like you're moving forward when you're still tied to someone who doesn't support you. I saw the way you looked tonight, and it worries me." She looked away, her gaze falling to the ground. "You don't understand. It's complicated. Leaving is not as simple as you think." "Then help me understand," he urged, his voice steady. "What is keeping you from breaking free?" Elowen took a deep breath, her shoulders slumping. "It's fear, Nathaniel. Fear of being alone. Fear of failure. My partner, he can be controlling, but he believes in my art in a way that I sometimes need. It's hard to let go of that, even if it comes with pain." Nathaniel felt a rush of empathy for her struggle. "But is that really support? Is it worth the pain? You have so much talent, Elowen. You deserve to be free to create without fear." "I know, but it's not just about the art," she replied, her voice cracking. "It's about everything. I feel stuck, and sometimes it's easier to stay in a bad situation than to risk everything for something uncertain." He stepped closer, wanting to reach out and comfort her, but unsure if she would welcome it. "Sometimes, the uncertain path is the one that leads to real freedom. You don't have to do it alone. I'm here for you." Elowen looked up, tears glistening in her eyes. "You don't know what you're asking of me. It's so easy to say these things, but living them is a different story." "I know it's hard," he said, his voice firm yet gentle. "But you have a chance to change your story. You have people who care about you, who want to see you thrive. I want to see you thrive." The silence stretched between them, thick with emotions. Elowen searched his eyes, looking for sincerity. "Do you really believe I can do this?" she whispered. "I do," Nathaniel replied. "You are stronger than you think, Elowen. You just need to trust yourself." As they stood there, the noise of the gallery faded away, leaving only the two of them in their shared moment. Elowen felt a flicker of hope ignite within her, a sensation she had almost forgotten. Perhaps Nathaniel was right. Perhaps she could reclaim her life and her art. With a deep breath, she nodded slowly. "Maybe you're right. Maybe it's time for me to confront my fears." Nathaniel smiled, relief washing over him. "I'll be here for you, every step of the way." In that moment, they forged a connection that felt electric, a promise of support and understanding. Elowen knew the road ahead would be tough, but with Nathaniel by her side, she felt a glimmer of hope for a brighter future. As the soft morning light filtered through the curtains, Elowen sat at her small kitchen table, her mind racing with thoughts of Nathaniel. His kind words from the night of the art show echoed in her ears. "You have so much talent, Elowen. Don't let anyone take that away from you." She absent-mindedly traced her fingers over her sketchbook, the blank pages staring back at her like an empty canvas waiting for color. She was at a crossroads, and Nathaniel's support had ignited something deep within her, a spark of hope that she had long thought extinguished. The weight of her toxic relationship pressed heavily on her shoulders, but Nathaniel's belief in her made her consider a different path. "Maybe I can break free," she whispered to herself, her voice barely above a murmur. Just then, her phone buzzed, bringing her back to reality. It was a message from Nathaniel. "Good morning. I hope you're feeling okay. I was thinking about our talk. I'm here if you need to chat." The warmth of his words made her heart flutter. She took a deep breath, feeling a mix of gratitude and fear. Would she disappoint him if she didn't take action? Later that day, they met at a cozy cafe, the air filled with the rich aroma of coffee and pastries. Nathaniel arrived first, his eyes lighting up as he saw her. "Elowen, you look radiant today," he said, his voice brimming with genuine admiration. "Thanks, Nathaniel," she replied, her cheeks warming at the compliment. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said the other night." "About your art?" he probed, leaning in closer, eager to hear her thoughts. "Yes," she said, her voice steadier now. "I want to reclaim my identity, but I don't know how to start. It feels so daunting." Nathaniel nodded, his expression serious yet encouraging. "You don't have to do it all at once. Just take small steps. What's one thing you can do this week that brings you joy?" Elowen pondered for a moment, her mind racing with possibilities. "I could try to finish that piece I started last month. It's been sitting there, unfinished, because I wasn't sure if it was good enough." "Absolutely, you should work on it," Nathaniel replied enthusiastically. "It's not about perfection, it's about expressing yourself. Let your emotions flow." Feeling inspired, she smiled. "You're right. I've let my fears hold me back for too long. I need to confront my partner about how I feel." Nathaniel's eyes widened slightly, a mix of concern and encouragement in his gaze. "That's a big step, Elowen. Are you ready for that?" "I think so," she said, her voice filled with determination. "If I want to be free, I have to face him." "Just remember, you're not alone in this," he reassured her. "I believe in you, and I'll be here for you, no matter what happens." The warmth of his words wrapped around her like a comforting blanket. "Thank you, Nathaniel. Your support means everything to me." As they continued to talk, Elowen felt a sense of empowerment growing within her. She could see a glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel, a way out of the shadows that had clouded her life for too long. "I'll do it," she declared, her voice stronger than before. "I'm going to confront him this week." "That's the spirit," Nathaniel cheered, his face breaking into a proud smile. "You're taking control of your life, Elowen. I'm so proud of you." Their conversation shifted to lighter topics, but the weight of her decision lingered in the air. Elowen couldn't shake the feeling of anxiety that curled in her stomach, but she also felt hope, a hope that had been dormant for far too long. As they parted ways, Nathaniel placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Remember, whatever happens, you have people who care about you. I'm just a call away." Elowen nodded, her heart swelling with gratitude. "I won't forget that." "Thank you, Nathaniel. I'll keep you updated." With a renewed sense of purpose, Elowen walked away, her mind racing with possibilities. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, she felt ready to face it. Empowered by Nathaniel's unwavering belief in her, she took her first steps toward liberation, determined to reclaim her life and her art. Elowen stood in front of her partner, her heart pounding in her chest. The air between them was thick with tension as she prepared to speak the words she had rehearsed in her mind 1,000 times. This was the moment she had been waiting for, the moment that could change everything. Nathaniel believes in me, she thought, drawing strength from his unwavering support. I can do this. You have no idea how much I've put up with, do you? She finally said, her voice steady despite the storm of emotions inside her. Her partner crossed his arms, a smirk on his face. You think you can just walk away? You need me. You always have. Elowen took a deep breath. No, I don't need you. I need to be free. The words felt powerful as they left her lips. The confrontation escalated, her partner's words like daggers. You're nothing without me. You'll see. You'll come crawling back. But Elowen stood firm. I won't. I'm done being afraid. I've found my voice, and I'm not afraid to use it. With each declaration, she felt a piece of her old self shatter, making way for the new. As the argument raged on, Nathaniel sat alone in his dimly lit apartment, staring at the rain streaming down the window. He couldn't shake the feeling of unease that settled in his chest. What if she's in trouble? He whispered to himself, the thought gnawing at him. Suddenly, his phone buzzed. It was a message from Elowen. Nathaniel, I need you. Can you come? Without hesitation, Nathaniel grabbed his coat and rushed out the door, his heart racing. Please let her be okay, he murmured, the rain pouring down in sheets as he made his way to her. When he arrived, the atmosphere was electric with tension. Elowen stood at the edge of the room, her eyes shining with a mix of fear and determination. Nathaniel could see the remnants of the argument still lingering in the air. Is everything all right? He asked, concern etched on his face. Elowen turned to him, her expression softening. I did it, Nathaniel. I stood up for myself. He stepped closer, his heart swelling with pride. You did? That's incredible. But Elowen shook her head, tears welling in her eyes. It was hard. He didn't take it well. I'm scared. Nathaniel reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. You're not alone anymore. I'm here. The warmth of his touch calmed her racing heart. Thank you for believing in me, she said, her voice trembling. Nathaniel smiled, his own fears momentarily forgotten. You're stronger than you know, Elowen. This is just the beginning. As they shared a moment of understanding, the weight of their struggles began to lift. They both felt a sense of relief wash over them. Let's celebrate this moment, Nathaniel suggested, his eyes brightening. We can start fresh, together. A small smile broke through Elowen's tears. I would like that. I want to explore my art again, to find out who I really am. Then let's do it, Nathaniel said, determination filling his voice. We can help each other heal. We can chase our dreams, no matter how big or small. With newfound hope, they began to talk about their aspirations. Elowen shared her visions of colorful canvases and vibrant sculptures, while Nathaniel spoke of his desire to write stories that touched hearts and changed lives. I want to create something beautiful, Elowen said, her eyes sparkling with inspiration. And I want to help others see the beauty in words, Nathaniel added, feeling a connection grow stronger between them. As they continued to talk, the storm outside began to ease, mirroring the calmness settling in their hearts. They realized that they were no longer defined by their pasts, but by the choices they made moving forward. Hand in hand, they stepped out into the world, ready to embrace the journey ahead. Together we can face anything, Elowen declared, her voice filled with newfound confidence. Yes, Nathaniel agreed, his gaze locking with hers. And we will. In that moment, they understood that they had the power to rewrite their stories, one day at a time, and that their bond would guide them through the uncertainties of life. Nathaniel and Elowen stood together in the soft light of the early evening, the air heavy with the scent of rain-soaked earth. After their separate struggles, they found comfort in each other's presence. The bond they had formed was still new, yet it felt strong, like the roots of an old tree digging deep into the ground. I can't believe how much has changed in such a short time, Nathaniel said, his voice gentle as they walked side by side along the familiar streets of Beacon Grove. The rain drizzled lightly, creating a soothing melody as it hit the pavement. Elowen smiled, her eyes brightening as she looked at him. It feels like we are starting a new chapter, doesn't it? She paused, glancing up at the clouds that hung low. Every drop of rain feels like a fresh start. Exactly, Nathaniel replied, feeling a warmth spread through him. It's like each moment counts now, like the rain washes away the past. He took a deep breath, savoring the cool air. I never knew how much I needed this. Someone to share my thoughts with. Elowen nodded, her heart swelling with gratitude. I feel the same way. I was so lost before, caught up in my own worries, she admitted. It's freeing to talk about everything, without fear. As they walked, Nathaniel noticed how the rain glistened on Elowen's hair, framing her face like a halo. You are so talented, Elowen. Your art speaks volumes, he said, his voice filled with admiration. I hope you keep creating. Her cheeks flushed with warmth. Thank you, Nathaniel. Your support means the world to me. I want to share my story through my art, to show others they can overcome their fears too, she said, her eyes shining with determination. Nathaniel smiled back, his heart swelling with pride. You have the power to inspire so many people. Just look at how far you've come already. He paused, watching her closely. What's next for you? I'm planning a new exhibit, she replied, her voice bubbling with excitement. It's going to be about rebirth, how we can rise from the ashes of our past. I want to create pieces that reflect our journey together, how we found each other in the rain. That sounds incredible, Nathaniel said, his gaze fixed on her. I would love to help if you need it. Elowen chuckled softly. You really want to help? I might need someone to carry supplies, she teased playfully. I can be your assistant, he said, grinning. Just point me in the right direction, and I'll follow. As they continued walking, the rain began to fall heavier, but they didn't mind. Instead, they laughed and splashed through puddles, feeling like children again. The joy of their newfound connection filled the air around them. Do you remember the first time we met? Elowen asked, her voice playful. You were so hesitant to talk to me. Nathaniel chuckled, shaking his head. I was terrified. I didn't know if I should approach you or just keep walking. I'm glad you chose to say something, she replied, her tone turning sincere. It changed everything for both of us. Yeah, he said, his expression softening. It did. I think we both needed that moment of courage. They stopped under a small awning, sheltering themselves from the downpour. Nathaniel turned to face Elowen, his heart racing. I want you to know, I'm here for you, no matter what. I'm not going anywhere. Elowen looked deep into his eyes, a mixture of gratitude and vulnerability shining through. Thank you, Nathaniel. I feel the same way. You make me believe in new beginnings. With that, they stepped back out into the rain, hand in hand. The droplets fell around them, each one a reminder of the challenges they had faced and the strength they had gained. As they walked through the streets of Beacon Grove, they knew that together they could face whatever the future held. The world felt wide open, full of possibilities, and they were ready to embrace it, one step at a time. Share this story if you believe that love can conquer even the toughest challenges. Leave a comment about a moment when you found strength in unexpected companionship, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring tales like this one.